can't change people, you can change norms. And you work together with your people to set the norms. Define and come to consensus based on national research and local abilities. See, one of the things you can't compromise in national research. Philip Schlechte has these criteria for engaged learning. You can't go make up your own and say, here's how we define engaged learning. But you can say, here's where my staff is at. They don't know a whole lot about this. Oops. Don't know a whole lot about.
Nice. Very nice you can make it back. Nice.
Passing time for the 8th grade. I can't help it. I'm their biggest fan.
We gave them an opportunity to get even with you.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have to define and come to consensus based on national research. We're not going to compromise Marzano or Schlechte, but we are going to say, wow, my teachers don't know anything about Schlechte. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 5, how many people here think they really know and understand Schlechte's work? I've been dealing with it for 3 years. I'll give myself a 3 because I'm an easy grader on me. It's very difficult. So we're not going to expect you, the last model that I worked with, we spent 20 minutes on Schlechte and then expected you to go forth and be experts in Schlechte. You can't do that. And you can't do that to your teachers. When you go through this system, you may decide, wow, we really need to understand Schlechte's work on engagement because it's really powerful and huge. So then you begin to build your staff development around data which says you need that. You set the group norm. This is how we behave in our environment. We expect the learner objective or we don't. You also get, if you buy the software package, and I don't want to be a salesman here, but if you get the software package, you get 3 blank screens. You can put anything on those screens you want. You can put anything on those screens you want. If you're doing word walls, if you're doing reading strategies, if you're doing Marzano's 9 strategies, whatever initiatives you have in place or would like to put in place. I'm dealing with a high school whose reading scores are awful. Surprise, surprise, that high school reading scores aren't what they need to be. What they're doing is they're instituting a staff development on reading strategies in the content area. And then as they do their walkthroughs, that's what they want to see. I want to see whether or not we're actually teaching reading in English. We had a nice conversation with Steph when you talk about the issues of student performance change so drastically. I could be Sarah Palin. I can make up words. Drastically. How about that? Can anybody repudiate that? When they leave the ISAT, doing 90, 95, and go to the high school on the ACT, and they're not doing 90, 95 anymore. Hey, there's a lot of differences there. But in English, for example, our English language arts curriculum is driven by fiction. And the ACT is driven by nonfiction. Nonfiction. You know the interesting little number there? You know how much time you spend on proofs and theorems in geometry? Some spend 6 weeks, 8 weeks, a full quarter. You know how many proofs and theorems are on ACT? 0. 0. But we spend 9 weeks teaching proofs and theorems. But whatever you're doing, we can create a screen for you, and if you're using the paper and pencil version, we can help you create your own screen there as well. So you get to look at these constructs plus whatever you want. It presents data in the same form and format as the current data points in the system. Paper and pencil, we've talked about. This is what the reports look like. You can't read it, neither can I. Don't feel bad, but these are the... I still can't read. Teacher activity. Teacher activity. I can't read that one. I don't know. Anyhow.
So you're going to get a report that you can't read?
No, you'll be able to read it.
Oh.
Can you read it there? It's on my screen. Okay. Sorry. But for these constructs, instructional strategy, classroom environment, student engagement, and so on, that's exactly what you get. That's what your printout's going to look like. With the software program, you will upload it from your PDA or upload it from the paper and pencil, and you can export the data to Excel. and create your own reports if you like pie charts better. But what it does is gives you a percentage. That's teacher activity across the top, and then down below it's like lecture, guiding practice, all those.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute. Thank you. There's observed student activity. Again, under the construct student activity, those are the different categories that you see, and there's what you see on percentages. You can split that by grade level, by department, by building, by month, by year, by district. Okay? 3 outcomes. How to identify and label specific classroom instructional practices. That's what we're going to start doing now. Okay? Everybody comfortable with the first 2? What will we do with the data? Gather and collate the data shown above. Share that collated data with the faculty and or the school improvement team. You're no longer going to have data that says, I was in Sam's room October 15th, here's what I saw. You're going to be able to say, I did 100 walkthroughs in the last month, and here's what I saw. And if you do the advanced work on this, they're all going to know what you're looking for. You're going to say, here's what I'm looking for, here's how we define it, here's what I saw. You said you were going to post a learner objective. And to me, if you don't have a learner objective, you don't have anything. If nobody knows what they're learning and why they're learning it, you don't know what they're learning, and neither do they. You're going to use the data to identify patterns. Am I seeing a pattern? Is there a correlation between lecture and student engagement? Is it a positive correlation? No, not at all. You're going to monitor curriculum and instruction. Is the intended curriculum being taught? To me, that's a real fair question. I hired you to teach 4th grade math, and in this district, here's how we define 4th grade math. You know, I really don't want to hear that you don't like fractions. You know what I mean? It's here's the district curriculum. Are you teaching the intended curriculum? Because as Doug Reeves teaches us in his BFO, anyone remember what a BFO is? Blinding flash of the obvious? Kids learn what we teach them. If we don't teach it, they don't learn it. And whose fault is it they can't do double-digit multiplication on the iSet? We didn't teach it. You're also going to monitor instruction. Instructionally, what's happening in your district? What's happening in your building? And again, you're gathering data, not judgment. You're not going to say, I really liked that lecture you gave on Pride of the Beloved Country. You can say, I walked into 100 classrooms and 80% of them were lecturing. You're going to set goals for the building. As you look at your monthly data reports, you're going to be able to say, in the month of September, 80% of us were lecturing. 40% of us had student engagement. Which area are we going to pick to work on? Then you can set goals, and then the next month's faculty meeting, you can come in and say, here's the September results, here's the October results. Ooh, there's no change. You can judge progress toward meeting the goals. I know one district I worked with, it took them until March to get 100% of the people to post a learner objective. Wow, that amazes me too. I was somewhat amazed by that, but what are you going to do? It's going to provide what Larry Lazat calls real-time data. Remember, test results are a trailing indicator of student performance. Remember the difference between leading indicators and trailing indicators? Leading indicators are stuff that you do going into the test that impact learning, and trailing indicators are stuff after the fact that make no difference. What this will do is give you leading indicators on test performance. Are the teachers teaching the intended curriculum? Do kids know what they're expected to learn? What kinds of instructional strategies are they using? We know Marzano identified 9 strategies that work. Are teachers using the 9 strategies that work? Or are they cracking you open and putting you in intensive care for 2 weeks because it's easier for them? There's a question, and this will begin to show you data, and it gives you real-time data. What's wrong with this?
About having those, you know, objectives on the board, having,
Right, I don't know if that follows
And then we'll
that.
put
YouTube
budget.
is,
right.
this is the
I
difference.
had
you know, YouTube also.
And the final category, did you save the right ticket? Was there any evidence of a learner objective? What were they trying to learn?
No, in the back of the bag, the actual goal.
Was there any statement of what the kids were supposed to be learning?
Something of it actually had. Yeah.
And now you have to find some place to put your elbows.
Actually had, first half is this, second half is that goal.
So you have.
Can't make two posters, no.
At school.
Can't make two posters, no, sorry.
I don't know what have one deer. I think
Lauren? What?
I might just trust her.
Yeah. I'm professional.
That's okay, we're in no hurry here. You can go change stuff, you can go move stuff around. You can even put stuff on a blank wall if you want. I've had people put things on a blank wall and just say, this doesn't fit any category. And I'm okay with that.
Professional strategy.
You will. You got all day. Not surprising, but.
Oh, and then they're gonna come back and explore and then come back. The big thing, I don't know.
But she's different, you know what I mean?
Out of the box. We go in there and say, right, they would check.
We get them all done? Okay. So as people frequently say to me, so what's my point? What's my point? Why did I do this to you, or with you, or for you? What's the point of this whole exercise? Practice the walkthrough. Look at our data, what do you see? Kind of all over the board.
Right.
We're kind of all over the board. I think, truth be told, we could take some of those and put them somewhere else. Because we didn't, I just told you, kind of like administration does now, I want you in those teacher classrooms. You got to be in those teacher classrooms, right? How many times have you heard that? I got to be in those teacher classrooms. I got to be in those teacher classrooms. You're supposed to spend more than 50% of your time on instructional improvement, right?
Right.
When you go in a classroom, what do you do? Oh, no. Depends. It all depends. We produce the kind of data we produced because I didn't tell you what to look for. I didn't tell you what to look for. No one has told you what to look for. They just say, go in those classrooms. I want you in those classrooms. I want you in those classrooms. My secretary was directed when I wasn't in the office. She was to answer the phone, and even if it was superintendent, she was to say, I'm sorry if he's out with the children. I was in those classrooms. What was I looking for? I don't know. I was just kind of management by wandering around. Is this data meaningful?
Yes.
Have we come to any consensus on what any of this stuff means? On student engagement, do we know what engaged versus unengaged is? Schlechte doesn't even have a term for unengaged. He's got a different term than unengaged. That's the point of this whole exercise. You're expected to go out and visit classrooms, and we haven't told you what to look for. We haven't come to agreement on what any of this stuff means. What does it mean, instructional strategy versus teacher activity? There's a difference, and we all can kind of know it, and we kind of know what we're talking about, and we've seen it before. But we don't really know at the kind of level that we can share, that we can make with data. Current classroom observation practices has a table. Come up with the 3 major problems with the current classroom observation practices you do in your district. Ready?
Make secretaries.